Kids and cadets, welcome back to Tommy Time. I'm really appreciating all of you coming out, checking out this junk on four wheels. This is one that I got from a local scrapper. He had showed up with 2 units. My son was here. My son unloaded these. I gave 20 each, 20 for this, 20 for another one, and I got 2 bags, and I gave 5 for that, so 45 total for the haul. The major deal we found on this one is we had clamped the cable here with a vice grip because the cable was bound up. I happen to have one in stock. I'll list that cable number below, but it looked like something like this. It started splintering on one end. It was chewed up through here, which doesn't really matter. It's just well used. And then on this end it started splintering as well. No action whatsoever. You couldn't budge this thing. So we were able to fire it off. Once we put the vice grips on it, it fired off with happy juice. So I started this project today, put a little gas in it. Gas was empty out of the tank, and same thing, it would start and stall. So I took the carb off, cleaned the carb. Carb was gummy. So I'll show you how this deal goes. It kind of mimics Honda. The recoil comes off. I goobered this up with a bunch of oil, 159cc. This happens to be a 2013, and it's got a China engine on it. It doesn't say Zhongqin usually on the emission control. It says Zhongqin, but maybe MTD use Zhongqin for this one. So when I had the gas in here, I noticed it was kind of leaking out, and what had happened is I think a rat got back here and chewed this all the way through. So Harvey put a little piece of silver tape on it with some goop, and it was just coming out of the hole. You can't stop gasoline with aluminum foil. Helen told Harvey to do it, and it failed. Notice some chew marks here. I just took the remaining AB compound that I had mixed up and threw it on here just as a precaution, but I didn't see any weeping through here. The only weeping I saw was a chew mark up here. So I used Turtel. I've done videos on this stuff before. This Kafuta and Turtel, and it's just an AB compound. You take a little bit of each, put it on a piece of cardboard, mix it up with a popsicle stick. It turns into this gray paste. Equal amounts of A, equal amounts of B on a piece of cardboard. Mix it all up and goop it on. So this is semi-hard. I'm not going to fill this thing to the top. I'm just going to put enough in it to get this thing to start. We had seen the initial rat damage when we did the first video on this, and I told you I should have brought out Mr. Rat. So they gave up here, then they came down here to get the real meat. Up here is just the covering. It's not tank material. Under here is tank material. If you want the tank off, you take this 10 off and remove the tank from the plastic housing. So there you go. California women do not drink the gasoline that lies within. So I'm going to put this thing back on what you want to do on these, there's a thermostatic wafer. You want to make sure that the little tab here for the choke, that's plastic, stands straight up. It's in between the linkage here. This linkage creates a V, and then it goes up to the wafer. You want to make sure that plastic stud is in the middle, not back here and not up in front of this. It's got to lie between. That's the only tricky thing. If you don't put it in the middle, it's going to bind itself up. So that's this linkage is all part of the air vane. So another thing I noticed, it's got some sort of, it's not a breather, it's probably emission control evap system. This vents down here through the back of the air filter backing plate, and then the other ends up here, and there's a foam in this thing. So this must be a cheap way that they came up with an evap system. Hadn't seen this on the other ones I messed with. Maybe somebody had taken them off and thrown them in the trash. So I'm sure they're serviceable. This has got a rubber grommet on it. You could take it off and put different foam in it. Actually, why don't we just see what it's all about? Since I've never messed with one, we'll take this thing off. Just remember which hose. It probably doesn't matter. Boy, that was a bitch to get off. So they probably want $15 for this thing. Okay. So there is a little piece of foam there, and what's this? Piece of hard plastic with some spring-like material in there. Metal spring. So this is kind of weird. There may be a carbon cartridge below it. The spring goes to about there, and then there's something else down there, maybe a carbon cartridge. I'm going to put some air on here and see if it flows through. Yeah, it does. I put air to both of these, and it comes out here. So this is some sort of California crap, which is nonsense. Oh, T and P. So these do make a difference. They're labeled P and T. There may be a hose here that fell off or somebody took it off. I don't know where that goes. But this one goes to the backing plate here. Okay, enough of that nonsense. And it was up in this area. So let's start putting this piece of crap back together. I'm going to put the housing back on, and then this last. Get this thing all organized. So I was going to work on a power more. I don't know where I got it, but I don't have the red primer bulb. It might have been in the group that I just got. I went to work on it and realized the primer bulb is broken and I don't have one. But they're like $1.10 on Temu or AliExpress, so I'm going to order 5 so I have them in stock. Okay, so this was tucked up under here. Oh, maybe up in there, straight up and down. No, that's that little cutouts for the air vane. This thing came out of here, I know it did. Oh, okay, I see. It lies flat. You see that little cradle? It sits in there. This little plastic doodad holds it in place like that. This is for your air vane, is in here. This goes here for that evap crap. Okay, let me manipulate this thing back in there. Yep, clips into there, so we're good. So the tank here has an in-tank filter. It mimics a Honda. There's a little cartridge you pull out. So I pulled that out, made sure that was free flowing, and it is. So that's a compliment to Honda when the Chinese steal the technology and make their crap just like the Japanese. Hey, if it worked so long and so good and people are buying it, mouse will copy it. Okay, so like I said, I'm not going to go berserk and fill this thing to the top. I want that turtle to set for another 24 hours. So I don't want to get it wet. I just want to see if this thing's going to work. Not a bad looking machine. The only thing is over here, the paint's peeling near the trap door. This side looks okay. I'll show you something here in a minute. How they just spray this paint on and what problems these wash ports create. So I was just looking at this. I see this bubble here, and it's water. Water got under the paint, and it's just pissing out of the paint here. So this is really thin. Probably no primer whatsoever. And these things here are for the birds. That was Turo's terrible design. Water gets under here, paint bubbles up, and eventually this whole thing caves in and rots through. Still moist after Hurricane Debbie pissed on us. But it's drying out. So many homes flooded in Southwest Florida. It's ridiculous. Too much development. All the areas where this rainwater would go. It's now 300 home subdivisions. So, of course, the water's still going to end up there. But unfortunately, there's homes every 50 feet. That's how it goes. Don't compensate for taking away drainage areas. The water's got to go somewhere. It's going to go right down the middle of your street on Happy Crap Lane. Or Soggy Bottom Terrace. Okay, let's put this breather hole down in there if I can. Let's pinch this. Now that must be for something else. Doesn't really want to go in there. I'm not going to mess with it. It might be for another design. Just like this cutout here could be for something else, another system on another machine. Okay, let's keep going. There's a piece of broken hose. So this breather contraption thing, the hose here on the back side is kind of splitting. What I'm going to do is take a razor and cut it back, because there's enough slack here where I can cut off maybe half an inch and still have enough. So why don't I do that? Not that it really matters on this emission control crap. It's all California's doing. They had to pipe these things down, and they couldn't even fart without setting off alarms. So the manufacturers had to squeeze these things down and make them barely run to pass emissions. I'm just gonna see if I can get it started. There we go. I'm just gonna get it started. Okay. So my AC in the house acted up. I noticed last night you kind of get a rhythm of how cool it is. It started to get warm, and I'm like, what in the hell's going on? So I turned it down. It kicked on for a while, then it kicked off. So I kind of investigated it today, and I'm proud of myself. There's two switches, drain switches up in the attic. One for the big pan, and then one for the evaporator pan. So one of them had a bunch of crap in it, and it tripped off the machine. So I went up there, washed it all out, took a funnel with some water and poured it down the drain pipe where it comes outside. I took my air hose down outside. I blasted air up into the unit in the attic. So I did that a couple times, forced crap up, flushed it all out till clean water was coming out. turned it on and it worked fine. So I just saved myself $650 because when those guys show up, they're going to want money. Now, I think it cost me $180. That happened to be last year. They said the switch had tripped it. It cost me $180 for them to do what I just did today. Cleaned it out myself. But if you're Mildred and Marvin, you don't know a damn thing and can't get in the attic or whatever, you're going to be paying out the butt. You know what I mean? Just make sure your air filter's clean. That's another thing. If that thing gets blocked up, it'll freeze up the system. So if it ever craps out, also the batteries in your thermostat in the wall, if the batteries go dead, it could knock the system out. 2 AAA batteries, that's happened before. That'll knock it out. And a dirty filter, no airflow over the condenser, that'll freeze the condenser rock solid. Just some tips to save you on the AC scoundrels. Sometimes going to the breaker box, doing the air handler breaker on and off, and then the compressor breaker on and off, reset everything. Try that. There's a few things you can do without calling Acme Air Service Incorporated for all your cooling needs. Send us large sums of money and we'll make sure you have air conditioning by next week. There are jokers that advertise 1 hour service or some crap. I don't know. I think it's all a gimmick. We'll show up within an hour. Other companies say if we don't show up at our designated time, service is free. So put a little gas in. Let's see if it's leaking out of the bowl. Okay, bowl is drier than a baby's bottom. Let's look at oil. It says it calls for 10W30. Oh, it might be overfilled a little bit. It's up there. Let me check this out. It's kind of weird where they make the half moon here at the bottom. It looks like it broke off, but I think it's made like that. You got your L at the bottom, whole and high. I wonder why they do that. If it doesn't touch either one of these, it's don't start me. It's blow up time. That's a little bit above. It's showing up here at the H. That's not concerning. Okay. I'll start it here since the ground is so wet. It's not going to kick up any sandy sand. Okay, I got good action on the safety brake. I'll put that part number below. Let's go. And that thing's cooking. We got dirt gobbers in there. Let me poke this. Or is that because we're overfilled with oil? So started first pull. Little bit of rough running, but it's nothing I'm going to spend any time on. It wasn't 100% smooth. I'd call it 97%. This My Stride crapola worked. I lift up on the back wheels. It's rear wheel drive and the wheels engaged. Let me give you the rear wheel drive cable number, 74605-121. You remember that a 94605-121 will work. The 7 and the 9s have been interchangeable, so you could run it under both numbers. You're going to get the same part, 946 or 746. Don't worry about this here. That might be plan or production line number. Just this first set of numbers, 1 and 2, is what you want to look at. So when I did the first video, I said the numbers were missing for this. Well, they're actually back in here, so they are in place. This is the model 247 period 37 5900. It looks like. I don't have the best cheaters on. 375900, yep. Serial number 1 Lima 093 Kilo 30502, Hoffman Estates, Illinois. Okay, they give an MTD number here. I kind of recognize it. The 12 Alpha Bravo Charlie 32 Juliet 799. So you might get a hit off of this. The Sears number there, and this is the MTD number. Okay. So this was a good one for 20 bucks. What do we got into it? A carb clean and that cable. And some turtle. So it looks like this is the 74605-105, but I'll confirm that down below. I just want to make sure. From what I can tell, 74105-105, but I'm going to look that up to be sure. It's the double butterfly is what this one is. Okay, that's all. I'll clean this one up a little bit more. Try to get the moisture up out of the paint. And put this one in the lineup. I'm slowly building up inventory. Blade's in good shape. It just needs to be touched up. No sandblasting, just rusty. It might have been changed in the last couple years. Or this thing may not have seen a lot of use. Just looking at the wheel treads, I'm thinking that this thing hadn't been used a lot. If you're looking at the drive wheels, the rear wheel drives and the fronts here. there's still a lot of meat on the treads for 2013. You know what I mean? Jelly bean. Okay, so this one was a good one. They pushed this to the street because the safety brake cable locked up. So I don't know what these are. I had this one in stock, so I'm not sure. Probably 15 bucks, maybe 10 or 15. I should probably order a replacement so I have one on hand in case I get another My Stride crap box. I was talking with my son about that. The Toro Recycler's personal pace, so Craftsman says there should be a My Stride. Similar concept, but I think it's kind of funny. Toro came up with the personal pace name, and everybody tries to copy it with their own version. The copycats, just like the Chinese copycat on the fuel tank system, inline filter on the tanks. Anyway, you guys have a good rest of your day. Appreciate you coming out. Tip you waitress and wait staff. Adios, amigos. This might be my last project for the day. Clucky and I are going to go sit on the front porch and look for birds of feather because you know they flock together.